Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it. It's a base hit. It's a 1-0 10-inning victory.
Yeah, it's disappointing to end this way, but I think it won't take long for you to realize that you had a great season. You played to your fullest. Like I was saying before, I think each and every guy in this ball club is going to be able to walk home this offseason, look themselves in the mirror, and they're going to say, hey, I gave it everything I had, and you got to be happy with that.
If you listen real closely, you can still hear the echoes of that remarkable time in the fall of '91. The chants, the cheers, the deep breaths we all took, knowing we would probably never again experience anything quite like that. Hi, I'm Ernie Johnson. In 1991, the Braves went from worst to first and right into the World Series. In fact, it was one of the best World Series ever played. Before the season started, the experts picked the Braves for 5th or 6th. In '92, they finally started making their move toward first place. The only difference, this year, everyone expected them to win.
Okay, let's get it on.
Yeah, we're back.
They had become a constellation, these brilliant boys of summer. Bobby Cox returned to spring training as a reigning National League Manager of the Year. John Schuerholz, baseball's Executive of the Year. Tom Glavine was the National League Cy Young Award winner. And Terry Pendleton, the league's most valuable player. Indeed, why stop here? Surely impossible for Glavine and Pendleton to repeat. That would be too much to ask. But there were other stars, so young, so talented, and so set. And the rest of the Western Division knew that. While the Braves kept their roster virtually intact, the Reds added Tim Belcher, Greg Swindell, Bip Roberts, and Dave Martinez. The Dodgers traded for Eric Davis. The Padres acquired Randy Myers and Gary Sheffield. And the Giants sent Kevin Mitchell to Seattle for 3 very talented pitchers. All with the idea of unseating these youngsters from Atlanta. Under the glare of the spotlight for the first time ever, the Braves showed training camp signs of cracking. Jeff Treadway and Tommy Gregg both suffered injuries, their seasons to be delayed. David Justice's back continued to give him problems. Otis Nixon was allowed to play in camp, but would continue his drug suspension into the regular season. It would prove worth the wait. All of us asked the same question over and over again. Was it really possible? There hadn't been a team to repeat as National League champions since the Dodgers in '77 and '78. Had this all been really just a dream? 1991 had been great, but the parade was over, wasn't it? Maybe that parade was just getting started. The 1992 Braves looked like they relished the role of defending National League champions as they began the season in Houston with a 2-hit, 9-strikeout victory from Mr. Cy Young himself, Tom Glavine. Oddly enough, his first career win against the Astros.
Tom Glavine picking up where he left off last year when he won that Cy Young Award. And picking up in the strikeout department, too. He struck out 192 a year ago. He's got 9 tonight. High fly ball, shallow right field. This should do it. Dave Justice in fair territory. He's got it, and Tommy Glavine has finally beaten the Houston Astros. A two-hit masterpiece for Glavine, striking out 9. And the Braves have won their season opener.
John Smoltz came right back in Game 2 and matched Glavine, and they headed back to Atlanta for their home opener against the Giants. Before the game, the Braves officially celebrated their National League championship. It was a night on which everyone was rewarded for a season no one will ever forget.
The rings are for the players to remind them of last year, and for the fans, the pennant goes up the flagpole. The tomahawks are out. It is an exciting moment in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as the pennant is raised high in center field. It's time to play ball again.
Unfortunately, on that night, the Giants had some party plans of their own. Though there were still signs that 1991 had been no fluke. In the absence of Nixon, Deion Sanders became a full-time player and showed he belonged, using that incredible speed to become one of the most potent leadoff men in the game.
Driven to right center field. O'Neill is back, and it's off the wall again. Sanders at second. He's trying for third, and he's going to be in there with a triple.
Deion would lead the National League with 14 triples.
Well, it's great because, you know, you could go 0 for 4, 0 for 5 one day, but you got tomorrow. You got tomorrow, you know. And that other thing, if you get beat by 6, you know, 6 points, touchdown, you got to sit and live with that a week. That's the good point about playing baseball.
And how important Deion would be in the early stages. For the second straight season, David Justice had to be put on the disabled list with back problems. April would not be crucial, but it would serve as a strong indicator. All but 3 of the 22 games were against the Western Division, games that potentially could come back to haunt them. And there's nothing more haunting than a loss to the Dodgers anytime.
5 RBIs for Scrubber, and the Dodgers win the ball game. This one hurts.
And 12 of those games were on the road. A place my old friends and broadcast partners Skip Carey and Pete Van Weeren know all too well. Skip, let's start with you.
Okay, Ernie, thank you. You know those days well yourself, both as a player and a broadcaster. Things I remember the most, when you lose 3 out of 4 to the Dodgers, you always get upset, especially that early in the year. We didn't know what a disastrous year it was going to be for the Dodgers. Remember, they finished just a game behind us a year ago. And against the Padres in that 3-game series, none of our starters lasted more than 4 innings. And I remember we came home 6-10 and in last place in the National League West, and that wasn't exactly according to plan.
The Braves reached and almost won the World Series last year with remarkable pitching. But even that glorious stretch against Pittsburgh and then Minnesota paled in comparison to the string that got this edition back into the hunt again. Credit the pitchers, but give the Cubs a little thanks, too. It began on April 27th when Tom Glavine shut out Chicago 5-0.
There are his numbers. The crowd knows Glavine going for the shutout. The pitch. Bouncing ball third. Pendleton's there. Throws across. Braves win. Tom Glavine ties his career record with a 2-hit shutout of the Chicago Cubs.
One night later, with some help from Marvin Freeman and Alejandro Pena, Charlie Liebrandt blanked the Cubs 1-0.
Bouncing ball to Lemke. He's there. On to first. Braves win.
And when Smoltz struck out 9 Cubs the next day for yet another shutout, the pitching staff had set a new franchise record, 4 consecutive scoreless innings, 33 in a row, and they stretched that to 36 before giving up a run. The Braves finished April dead even at 11-11, their best April in 9 years and just a game out of first place behind the Giants. What a roller coaster ride this team was getting ready to take, however. They started downhill in Pittsburgh, leading 3-2 in the 13th.
With the 1-1, high fly, and the Braves should win this. Lemke, and Justice, and they let it go. I can't believe it. Either could have caught it. The tying run
ball that should have been caught.
And the Pirates went on to win it 3 innings later. And it didn't get any better on a trip to St. Louis.
The 2-2. There he goes. Swing, line drive, deep toward left. Get on the run. He's at the track, at the wall. That ball is out of here. The Braves have blown a 9-0 lead. The Cardinals have tied it with a 2-run homer in the 8th here in St. Louis. Line drive, left field, base hit. Get in. Here's the throw. It's going to be close. They don't get him. The Cardinals take the lead, and Bobby Cox on his way to the plate.
But back up in Montreal when Smoltz set a new Atlanta record with 15 strikeouts. Getting Gary Carter in the 9th for the mark.
He'd like a deep breath. I don't blame him. 2 for the curve. Is it the pitch? Yes, it is. He struck him out. 15 strikeouts, and the Braves win it 2-1. What a job by John Smoltz. He just set an Atlanta record for strikeouts in one game. 15 of them. And what a lift that is for the Braves.
Up and down, up and down. 2 nights later on May 26th, they lose to the Phillies. They fall 7 games under 500. 7 games out of first place. Dead last. It was, fortunately for them, the lowest point of the season. Pitching and timely hitting turned things around. The next night, Tom Glavine won his first of what would be 13 straight. Down 3-2 in the 7th, they would score 7 times over the last 3 innings for their 5th comeback win of the season.
Blauser's being waved. The throw to the plate is going to be late.
The train picked up steam in Shea Stadium. Terry Pendleton and Sid Bream hit home runs for John Smoltz. Steve Avery kept it going, riding his buddy Deion Sanders 4 hits and 3 stolen bases to an easy victory. Oddly enough, they would finish the month of May 4 games under 500 and in 5th place, but feeling majestic. Their season turned dramatically. And it would turn on the grand talents of an all-pro football player of all things. Deion Sanders was one of the sparks that set this season aflame, but he was hardly alone.
And Mr. Reliable Terry Pendleton has been coming through in time after time after time for the Braves the last 2 years. The 3-1 pitch to Pendleton. Fly ball, deep left field. Duncan back to the wall. Home run. Braves win.
While the offense was delivering the dramatics, the defense was just as spectacular.
The payoff pitch on the way. Ground ball hit out to short. Belliard goes to second one. Lemke goes to first. Got him. Double play.
Here it is, runner going for third. Struck him out. Throw to third. He is out, and the inning is over. Amalfitano argues about it. Here comes Lasorda, but for the second time, they had struck out into a double play.
And shortstop Rafael Belliard, a clutch player in the field and at the plate.
They can pull one in the hole. It's over. Up the middle. Braves win. Braves win. How about that? Belliard on the first pitch. And somehow the Braves have done it again. Okay, so don't hit it into the hole. Up the middle is fine. Nothing to it. We had them all the way.
Even unexpected power from Otis Nixon.
Here comes a 2-2. Driven down the left field line. Bass on the run to the track, to the wall. It's out of here. Otis Nixon has gone deep. A 2-run homer by Nixon, and the Braves lead it 3-0. His first home run since August of 1990 against the Padres.
John Smoltz was 2-11 a year ago in the first half of the season, but what a turnaround in 1992. Confident, overpowering, on his way to leading the league in strikeouts.
Brown starts the cheer. 3-2 offer. Coming. Bouncing ball first. Hunter to his pitcher. Braves win. Smoltz gets a shutout. Braves have won 5 in a row. Smoltz gets a complete game, and he strikes out 10.
Smoltz would go 10-6 in the first half and make the All-Star team. The roller coaster then was on its way up to the 500 mark for the first time since the 8th of May. 19-6 in June to pull to within 2.5 of the Reds. While Smoltz and Glavine were getting the headlines, Charlie Leibrandt was quietly going about his business, putting together another consistently strong season. The quiet ones always seem to do that. Jeff Blauser is another case in point. On the 4th of July, his fireworks were powerful as well as ironic. Appropriately, this home run was the 1776th home run hit on that date in baseball history. Blauser let loose a week later in Chicago, spraying Cub fans with 3 monster home runs, giving the Braves their 5th in a row and sweeping the Cubs.
Deep to left field for Blauser. He's got 3 home runs. His first 3 home run game of his career, and the Braves have taken a 7-4 lead.
July 12th will also be remembered for one of the wildest plays of the year. Facing the speed of Deion Sanders and Otis Nixon, the Cubs fell apart and the Braves were 2 games behind.
It's dropped by DeCenzo. They got mixed up about who was going to catch the ball, and the Braves, Nixon's going to try to score. Throw to the plate, he's safe. Wild throw. Sanders is going to try to score. They lead him. He's safe. It's 2-0 Atlanta.
What a wild day of baseball.
We had a few of those, didn't we? Pete Van Wieren now joins us. And Pete, you've seen a lot of remarkable things during your 17 years with the Braves, but this next stretch had to be the best.
It was terrific. This was the time of year when the Atlanta Braves proved to the rest of baseball that they were indeed capable of contending for another divisional title. One long winning streak after another, and no losing streak longer than 3 games.
It was starting pitching, pure and simple, that carried this team through the second half of the season. That amazing 13-game winning streak was the season in a nutshell. There was Steve Avery one night winning his 8th.
Ground ball first. Sid Braves got it, and Avery is going to be out of the inning. Here's the 1-1 on the way, and there's a line drive into right field. Justice coming on, makes a diving stab at it and caught it. Great play, David Justice. That took an extra base hit away from Steve Finley.
And Tom Glavine helping himself at the plate en route to winning his 14th, his 8th in a row. He led the pitching staff with 19 hits, 7 RBIs, a .247 batting average, one of the highest among National League pitchers. On July 22nd, John Smoltz and Kent Mercker combined on a 2-0 victory over the Cardinals, putting the Braves in first place. Mercker would go on to extend his scoreless inning streak to 25.
And the 1-2 pitch. Bounce to first. First to second. Back to first. Braves win. Beautifully done by Sid Braves. Belliard returned it, and the Braves have won by a score of 2-0. They're in first place all by themselves. Kent Mercker picks up a save. Smoltz gets a win, and you hate to leave them, don't you?
They came home for 6 against the Pirates and Astros, and nothing changed. Glavine won his 15th to make it 12 straight for the Braves. But the following night would perhaps become the signature game for this incredible season. Just ask Pirates outfielder Andy Van Slyke.
Nothing to it.
Then, clinging to a 1-0 lead in the 9th, with Alejandro Pena on in relief and 1 man aboard for Van Slyke again.
There's a drive, deep right center field. Nixon goes as far as he can go. He caught the ball. He caught the ball. I can't believe it. What a catch by Otis Nixon. He took a home run away.
That was a game winner. That saved the ball game for sure. That ball was completely out of the ballpark, and I've seen Otis make a couple catches similar to that, but I think this one tops it. It was a great play.
Ground ball. Hunter's got it. He'll take it himself. They did it. 13 in a row. And look at everybody head for Otis Nixon in center field. Merker gets the save. The Braves have tied the record. Deion Sanders arrived. They're going to carry Otis off the field. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him, whatever you do.
The catch, as it would forever be known, was almost as important to Otis as it was to the team. Otis Nixon, who left during the pennant drive a year ago, was welcomed home again. 13 wins in a row, followed by 3 straight losses. But the loss that could have hurt the worst came on the mound when fifth starter Mike Bielecki tore ligaments in his pitching arm. Out for the year. The first injury to a Brave starting pitcher in over 2 seasons. Who would step in? As it turns out, they never missed a beat. They recalled one-time young gun Pete Smith, who had been having a solid season in AAA at Richmond. And he proved he belonged, shutting out the Giants for 8 innings and picking up his first major league win in 14 months. The Braves would win all 11 of Smith's starts, a remarkable string and one of the keys to the Braves' success.
He got him to chase that breaking ball. Pete Smith records his 6th strikeout, and for the 4th time today, the Giants strand a runner at third.
On August 4th, the Reds came to town for 3, with the Braves holding a slim half-game lead. The Braves set the tone for that series in the opener. Trailing in the 8th, the Braves began to rally.
Here's our chance in the 8th inning. Tying runs on base, nobody out. It's 5-3, Cincinnati. The 0-2. Fair ball into the left field corner. A run is in. Pendleton is on his way to third. Justice races for second. Terrible throw. Oliver saves it. It's 5-4. An 0-2 pitch. He tried to throw it low and away, got it over the plate, and Justice hit it right over the bag.
They tied it 5-5, setting the stage for Terry Pendleton's dramatic 9th inning heroics.
The 2-1 pitch. Swung on, fly ball, deep left field. The ball is Braves win! Braves win!
Steve Avery breezed through the second game with some help from David Justice and the center field wall.
Fly ball center. Roberts going back, still going, and it's off the wall. 1 in, 2 in, Justice to third, and they're going to hold him there.
Mark Lemke's homer in the 5th inning helped John Smoltz complete the sweep of the Reds.
With the curveball, and the Braves have swept the Reds, and they lead the West by 3.5. Listen to this crowd.
The Reds were beginning to fade. The Braves were beginning to pull away. Or were they? When Bobby Cox finally took a breath, he sensed a new threat on the horizon. And sure enough, the San Diego Padres were creeping closer to the front. And so when they came to Atlanta a week after the Reds, it was just as crucial for both clubs. The Padres are the murderer's row. McGriff, Sheffield, and Jackson. And after pounding Smoltz and the Braves in the opener on August 11th, they were just 5.5 games back. But just as quickly, 2 nights later, when the Braves broke their franchise record for attendance, Damon Berryhill broke the Padres' backs.
High in the air. Did he get enough of it? Tony Gwynn back to the wall, back to the corner. It is gone. The Braves win.
Throughout much of the season, Lonnie Smith sat patiently, waiting for his chance to contribute. And when the opportunity arose, he made the most of it. A career-high 6 RBIs against the Bucks the next night.
1-1 to Lonnie, high and deep to left field. If it's fair, it's a grand slam home run. Grand slam home run, Lonnie Smith. It's 8-0.
The Braves' lead in the division was back to a more comfortable distance, 5.5 games over the second-place Reds. While streaks seemed to be commonplace for the team throughout the 1992 season, one of the most impressive individual streaks belonged to Tom Glavine. The remarkable left-hander won 13 in a row, the best string a Braves pitcher had ever put together. And when the streak ended, he stood 19-4 and clearly in control of a second straight Cy Young Award. But while the starters were sterling, going 44-15 over a 3-month span, the bullpen was shaky. When Pena was put on the disabled list with tendonitis, the Braves were looking for a stopper.
Here's the 3-1 delivery. Didn't mean to. A little chop toward third. Charging it is Lemke, throwing on to first. Not in time. Heading home and scoring the winning run.
Enter Trader John. The general manager, John Scherholz, whose 1991 late trade for Pena proved to be so valuable. This time sending 2 minor leaguers to Boston for all-time Major League save leader Jeff Reardon, who promptly saved 2 of the first 3 games in which he appeared for Atlanta.
High fly ball, that should do it. And Jeff Reardon has his first save as a Brave, and Atlanta has swept the doubleheader. And the Braves lead the Reds by 6.5, and the Padres by 8.5.
The Braves found more gold in the same mine from which Pete Smith came. Up from Richmond, another nugget in David Need. Combined, Smith and Need would go 10-0 in '92.
Double play ball. Is it hit hard enough? Out there. Out there. Pretty good job of pitching by David Need, folks. 6-4, 3 and out.
And while the Reds were losing 7 in a row, the Braves were piling up their lead in the West and doing it dramatically. Brian Hunter in the 9th against the Phillies.
Let's not be greedy here. A base hit would be good enough. Any base hit to the outfield, a run's got to score. They play so deep. There's a drive deep left field. Way back. Braves win. Braves win. Look at the mob scene at home plate and listen to this crowd. 3 2-run homers, 2 of them in the 9th inning. Take that, Padres. Take that, Reds.
The next day, Otis Nixon in the 9th against the Phillies.
Fly ball, Braves win. It's a single for Nixon. I've never seen him hit a ball that far left-handed. It's a single and an RBI, and the Braves make the magic number reduce as they win it 4-3.
And so the Reds were dangling precariously in second place. And when they came face-to-face with the Braves again on September 9th, they couldn't even hold on to that. Gunned down by a confident Braves defense, nothing seemed to go right for the Reds Nothing seemed to go wrong for the Braves. Lonnie Smith picked up his 500th career RBI in the first with a 3-run homer. Otis Nixon stole his 300th base in the 7th, propelling Glavine to his 20th victory, sending Cincinnati tumbling into 3rd place. It was Glavine's last regular season win. He was nursing a rib injury since the middle of August and took off the next 15 days.
Yeah, I've had to. I mean, I don't think it's much secret that I've been having a lot of trouble with my ribs lately, and last 3 or 4 weeks, and I aggravated them again tonight in the first inning on that first at bat, the first swing I took, and it's just something I've really had to battle with, and because of it, I've never really gotten real comfortable out there in many of the games, other than the last game against Philadelphia. But it's just one of those things where it seems like every time I start feeling a little bit better and start getting into a groove, I get re-aggravated. So I'm just going to take it day by day right now and see how they feel.
The following night, the Reds came back strong until a combination of cracked nerves and raw speed gave the Braves a chance to steal yet another victory.
Wall throw. Dion didn't see it. He'll be at third base. He's around second. He's on his way to third. He'll pull in there. See a Red pitcher throw a ball in the strike zone with 2 strikes. 1-2 the count.
And then Ron Gant sealed the win in the 9th.
That'll do it, folks. Here comes Dion, and the Braves win it. The magic number is 14. The Braves had swept the Reds and just about totally knocked them out of it.
The Braves once again could do little wrong. David Justice was on a tear with 8 home runs in a 22-game stretch. That helped expand Atlanta's lead to 10.5 games, the largest margin in any division. This looked like a rout for sure. But then, disaster struck. In the midst of being blown out by the Astros in Atlanta, catcher Greg Olson was crushed in a home plate collision with Ken Caminiti, suffering torn ligaments and a broken bone in his ankle. Out for the season, perhaps more. What a blow. The workhorse of the playoffs a year before, now forced to the sidelines.
As soon as I went over, everybody's worried about my upper part of my body, because that's where he hit me, but immediately I turned and I looked at my ankle because it was just in roaring pain. And then Bubba, the trainer, came out, and I said, come on, Bubba, just tell me it's a badly sprained ankle. Just tell me that. He sort of felt down there and looked up with those eyes, like, you're done, boy. But he didn't tell me that. He just said, well, we'll have to wait and see. So I had a pretty good notion that my season was done right then.
Your first reaction is great play. I held on to the ball, and then you see him laying in the dirt, and you're like, I hope he's not seriously hurt, because usually if you're down, you know something's wrong. And with the violence of the collision, it looked pretty bad, and really you hope to see some sign of movement, which Greg could move his arms, which was a relief to the bench and really the fans, just to know it wasn't a serious neck or back injury. And right there, he made a great play, and you got to give him credit for hanging on the ball. It's outstanding, and we're going to miss him as a team.
Miss him indeed. But there was Damon Berryhill, who had nearly shared the duties with Olson all season. And his response to the new challenge? 4 for 4 the very next night. Meanwhile, the race heated up again, and so did Ron Gant. After hitting only 2 home runs in a 3-month span, he hit 4 in 8 days, including a Braves power display in the 6th inning on September 20th. Despite that display of power, the Reds wouldn't go away, reeling off 9 straight and moving to within 4.5 of the lead. But 2 straight 10-inning wins in San Diego got the magic number down to 2.
It was a big relief to come home. We were so close. But close doesn't always get it done. You still have to win those games. Any manager or player will tell you that.
Sure do. If anyone was looking for high drama and theatrics, this wasn't the place. Within one very routine evening, it was finally over. A Braves victory over the Giants, a red loss to the Dodgers, and the Western Division would belong to Atlanta again. It happened just that way. On September 29th, while the Dodgers were shutting out the Reds at Riverfront, Charlie Leibrandt was going the distance for his 14th win, shutting out the Giants.
Fly ball center field. Otis Nixon is there. The Atlanta Braves have won the West. Listen to this crowd.
Again, the Braves had proved their doubters wrong, repeating as National League West champions.
The Braves mob the field. Charlie Leibrandt ran and embraced Terry Pendleton before the ball was caught. Greg Olson is out there. Somebody carried him out piggyback. I can't say who, but he wanted to share in this. Oh, that's a beautiful gesture. The Braves have done it. The magic number is 0.
I thought about it probably from about the 5th or 6th inning on, closing the thing out and being out there for the final out. And the closer it got, the more excited I got, especially when I got 2 strikes. The fans were getting extra pumped up, and I had to step back. And, I was hoping for the strikeout, but heck, an out's an out, and that's the ball game.
Charlie's done it all year long, and he gets overlooked a lot. And you know, no one on this team underestimates the importance of Charlie on the ball club. And you know, if anyone could be out there for the final time, you know, you're kind of happy it's him, and nobody deserves it more.
It's just like last year. It's just as sweet this year, and I think, you know, I'm just glad we did it a little bit earlier so we can prepare ourselves for Pittsburgh.
Yes, it would turn out that they needed that rest, but for the time being, that didn't seem to matter. A few good laughs and a dry towel at times seemed more important. And so, dried off, they played out the string, preparing to meet the Pirates in a rematch of last year's League Championship Series. It had been 14 years since a team had won back-to-back National League West titles. It had also been 14 years since a team had won the National League East 3 consecutive times. The Braves were trying to duplicate the success of their 1991 playoffs, while the Pirates hoped to avoid their 3rd consecutive postseason failure. John Smoltz would start for the Braves in Game 1 against Pirates ace Doug Drabek.
Yeah, I was just trying to kill time. It seemed like the day just never would get here, and the time was ticking, and I found myself playing solitaire. I looked up at the clock. I thought it was 10 to 8. It was 10 to 7. I said, man, what time does this game start? And just the anticipation's the hardest part for me. Once I throw the first pitch, everything's downhill.
Downhill for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Smoltz won 8 strong innings, extending the Pirates' postseason scoreless streak to 29 innings, a National League championship record.
I feel great. I'm going to root my butt off the next 2 days, and you know, I know I'm pitching Game 4, and hopefully that's the last game I pitch this series. But if not, I'll be ready Game 7.
Confidence was building on and off the field, and it was good reason. Game 2 was a rout. The Braves pounded the Pirates 13-5 on the strength of 10 2-out RBIs, including Ron Gant's first career grand slam.
Those guys had a chance to come back. I mean, they've done it before and almost beaten us before when we had a lead. So, you know, I think when I hit it, I think it took a lot out of him, and I think it was a big blow.
Steve Avery picked up the win, extending his scoreless inning streak in the playoffs to a record 22 1/3. The Braves were up 2-0. Atlanta was on top of the world.
Yeah, 4 runs is good to have. 8 runs sometimes is a little bit harder because you find yourself relaxing a little bit, and that's kind of what happened in the 7th. But, you know, you enjoy seeing 8 runs on the board because it's going to be tough to lose that kind of game.
On to Pittsburgh. Tim Wakefield and his knuckleball. Richmond's pitching coach, Bruce Del Canton, threw batting practice for Game 3. It didn't work. Wakefield gave the Braves a dose of reality. Despite allowing home runs to Bream and Gant, he beat Atlanta 3-2 and gave the Pirates their first win in the series.
Facing a knuckleball and then facing a pitcher that throws curveballs and fastballs is totally different. And, you know, it's a totally different timing mechanism as a hitter. So, you know, Drabek's got good stuff and good movement on his baseball. And hopefully by facing Wakefield tonight, it'll help us stay back and be on Drabek tomorrow.
But Game 4 saw key hits and strong pitching performances for the Braves. Otis Nixon was 4 for 5, and Smoltz struck out 9, winning his 4th consecutive playoff game 6-4. The Braves held a 3-1 series lead, and the party was about to begin. Or was it?
Definitely got to give Otis Nixon an awful lot of credit. You know, I felt coming into this series that he was going to be one of our big keys, and he's shown why tonight.
The hitters and defense is what makes this pitching staff so good.
I'd like to see the Braves win tomorrow. We came here to close it out, and that's what we're going to try to do. We have one game here to do it, so we'll give it a good go.
While Braves fans hoped to party after Game 5, Steve Avery was nailed for 4 runs in the first, and the Braves never caught up, losing 7-1. The Pirates had narrowed the series gap 3-2.
Well, it's always disappointing to have an outing like that, but it does help to go back to Atlanta 3-2 and still have the advantage in the series.
No big deal with us. I mean, we've been in this situation before, and if anybody's in the driver's seat, it's us. We're going back to Atlanta where we play a good ball. The pressure's all on them. They've got to come out every night and be as sharp as they were tonight, and we'll see if they can do that.
Back to Atlanta for Game 6. This time, the Braves brought in former Braves knuckleballer Phil Niekro to help the team against Tim Wakefield. Again, it didn't work. Although David Justice homered twice, the rest of the bats were quiet. The Pirates beat on the Braves 13-4.
And the Braves fans who are still here have a little something to cheer about as Justice circles the bases to make it 13-2.
The series was tied 3-3, and Atlanta braced for another Game 7. The Pirates, who had lost the previous 2 league championship series, seemed to be finally on their way to the World Series, taking a 2-run lead into the bottom of the ninth. But who will ever forget what happened next? After pinch hitter Brian Hunter popped up, Bobby Cox used his last out and the last hope on Francisco Cabrera. Remember his top of the ninth game-tying home run against Cincinnati last year? Bases loaded, 2 outs.
A lot of room in right center. If he hits one there, we can dance in the streets. The 2-1.
Swung line drive left field. 1 run is in. Here comes Green. Here's the throw to the plate. In. Safe. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win.
Unbelievably, 22 of the Braves' 32 RBIs in the series came with 2 outs.
I said, is he out or safe? When I saw the umpire safe, I said, wow, I did it, you know. Then I get excited.
I think it's bigger this year for us than it was last year because it's harder to do it 2 times in a row than once. I mean, that's proven in history. And to come back in the ninth like that, that's just unheard of.
I think we thought it was going to be a little easier than this, but you know, we came back the way we did, and now that it's all over with, it's great, it's exciting, but I wish it was a little bit easier.
They carried that hysteria into Game 1 of the World Series and were rewarded with an easy victory. Tom Glavine with an exceptional performance, a 4-hit complete game.
Base is empty. 3-2 pitch to Maldonado. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
And Damon Berryhill with yet another 2-out hit, a 3-run homer.
Breaking ball swung on and lifted high and deep to right field. Winfield looks up. This ball is gone.
To tell you the truth, I didn't really feel myself until I hit around third and gave Jimmy a high five, and then got home and gave Ronnie and David a high five.
The first admit I pitched a bad game the other night, and there was nobody any more disappointed than I was. But you know, I'm hearing all this crap about how bad I pitched in Game 3 in Pittsburgh and how bad I pitched last year in the postseason. When you know, I lose a 1-0 game in 2 games, but if we score any runs and we win, all of a sudden they're great performances. So you know, it gets tiresome reading that stuff, and it's nice to go out there and prove people wrong.
But Coneheads and their mentor prevailed, thanks to the bullpen and Ed Sprague's 9th inning homer. The series was even, sending it across the border for the first time in history. The Blue Jays turned the series upside down, taking Game 3 and 4.
If you're talking pressure, the pressure is going to be tomorrow. That's for sure. We know what we've got to do now, and that's go out and win ball games. There's no 2 ways about it.
Ain't nothing to lose anymore.
We got to win them all, and that's all there is to it.
If they're going to do it in our place. At least our fans get a chance to see us play again. You know, nothing against them, but we would like to at least go back home and play some more games. It'll be kind of a rematch for me with Jack, and I'll treat it like a 7th game.
We definitely have the type of team that can come back and win this thing. I feel like if we win the game tomorrow and go back home, we definitely have a shot to win it.
Down 3-1 in the series, the Braves could have folded. Only 6 of 37 teams facing a 3-1 deficit in the series had gone on to become world champions, including Lonnie Smith, Charlie Liebrandt, and John Schuerholz's 1985 Kansas City Royals. But there was no quit to this team. Winning 98 games and back-to-back National League titles proved that. They roared out of the box and sent the series back to Atlanta with a barrage of hitting, including a grand slam from Lonnie Smith, the first by a National League player in a World Series since 1964.
A grand slam home run for Lonnie Smith. It is 7-2 Atlanta. Take a ride on that one.
Bobby Cox's professional hitter had come through again. His 4th homer in his last 9 games of the Fall Classic.
For me, it's very tough to pull him. And most of the time, I just try to hit the ball hard. And when he gets it out over the plate, or a little further out, I try to go that way. So it was out over the plate, so I just tried to drive it.
He can still hit, he can still play. During the season, you know, he's not one of our everyday players, so you don't get a chance to see that. But anytime we insert Lonnie in the lineup, we know we're getting a very good Major League Baseball player and a hitter, a pure hitter.
Back in Atlanta for Game 6, again the Braves had to battle back. Down 2-1 in the 9th, Otis Nixon's game-tying hit sent it to extra innings. There was still hope. However, in the 11th, the Jays took a 4-2 lead. Could the Braves come back just one more time?
Nixon gets the bunt down the first base side, picked up by Timlin, throws to first in time, and the Toronto Blue Jays have held on to defeat the Atlanta Braves and become world champions of 1992.
Suddenly, like the final note of a tragic opera, full of bravado and grand lyric, it was over for the Braves.
So you learn how to win and you learn how to lose like a man. And you know, when the other man beats you, you tip your hat to him and you come back and try to do it again next year.
For us to come in here and win the pennant 2 years in a row is quite an accomplishment, and I think we have to reflect on that instead of the negative parts.
I'll be honest with you. We're going to be picked as probably 2nd, 3rd again next year, and that's fine. We were picked as underdogs all year, and just when we thought we had the best team, everybody kept picking somebody else. So we've been proving people wrong, and we enjoy doing that, and I think that's the same thing is going to happen next year.
We didn't win the thing, and you know, I showed up this spring training in '92 to win this thing. We didn't get the job done last year, and we didn't get it done again this year, so we've got to come back next year with something else on our minds, and that's get the job done and get it done right.
Wow, so close again. Pete, you've got to have some special memories.
I'll always remember this season just because of the images. Tom Glavine winning 20 again, the day-in, day-out brilliance of Terry Pendleton, and then the individual games, Otis's catch, Cabrera's hit, the Lonnie Smith grand slam in the World Series. So many different contributors to such a successful season.
And Skip, what comes to mind to you?
The first thing I always think about and always will think about when I think of the 1992 Atlanta Braves is bullpen coach Ned Yost carrying Greg Olson on his back out to the field to join in the celebration on the 29th of September when the Braves clinched the Western Division. That little piggyback ride to me summed up the togetherness of this team, and it's an image that I will never forget as long as I live.
A super year, and we have one more celebration. Almost 30,000 people showed up to pay tribute to this team. 3 days after the season ended.
It's hard to put into words exactly how many games you help us win, but there's no better feeling to come out here in front of a packed house night in and night out. And we appreciate your support. We appreciate you coming out here today and showing us appreciation for what we did all year. And we look forward to coming out here next year as world champions and getting this thing right. Thank you.
Braves fans not only salute the team for winning, over 3 million people turned out this year,
But they like the character, the makeup of this ball club. They just won't quit. They've been down many times, counted out sometimes, and come back. They had to beat Norm Charlton in a big game. They beat him. They had to score in the bottom half of the ninth to beat Pittsburgh. They did it. Great makeup of a very fine baseball club. They should do it for many years to come. Don't forget, spring training's only about, a couple of months away.